With this being the final race of the TM Master Cup Series season, let's have a look at the driver standings entering this race. Here we have displayed the only 4 drivers that can walk away with the championship. Adrian Devereaux only needs to finish 3rd to lock it up. However, given where he's qualified today, that might be a fairly tall order. Without further ado, here is the starting field for this year's Round of Decatur. 46 cars will do battle across this circuit in Central Illinois today. Winning the Delano Pole Award is Rachel Rainsford, the Volpe Test and Reserve driver. Rainsford made her debut here a decade ago, and she started last and finished 34th. Flanking her on the front row is James HEWITT, driving for Atlantic Motorsports. As surprise qualifier, HEWITT took advantage of the rain to put himself in a great position to steal a big result. On the inside of row number 2 is Scott Bates, driving car number 88. The popular Oklahoma veteran is looking for another Round of Decatur win in his Journey A90. On his outside is Cameron Taylor, driving in place of the injured Jacob Card. Card is expected to return to this car for the beginning of next season, so Cameron Taylor is looking for another ride somewhere else in the series, and he hopes to improve his prospects with a good run today. On row number 3 is Carlos Riquetta of Columbia. Riquetta is one of a few drivers to break the track record in first-round qualifying. Riquetta will do so from the 5th starting position. On his outside is Kurt Plisken in car number 16. Plisken is a colorful character who is looking to end a dismal season with a strong finish. On row number 4, we have the first of the championship contenders, Arto Kekkonen of Finland. Kekkonen is looking for a strong run and a strong finish after blowing several good runs early in the season. A win at New York really set him up for a good run at the championship today. On his outside is Gasper de Souza in the 60 car, who despite winning 2 races earlier in the year, has had a fairly quiet season otherwise. On the inside of row 5, we have Leonid RODERICK in his usual orange number 4, going for his 5th TM Master Cup Series Drivers' Championship. RODERICK has more wins at the Decatur Raceway than any other driver in the history of the series, with 6. RODERICK hopes to perform very well today, but it's going to be an uphill battle for him. On the outside is the defending race winner, Ian Cooper, in car number 73. That is a very distinctive green car. It'll be very easy to spot. On row number 6, Zelda ASHBY in car number 55 nearly won the championship last year with a startup team, but a late race crash ended her hopes of doing so. She hopes to get revenge on that with a win today. On her outside is Matt Taylor, the 2004 series champion, no relation to Cameron Taylor. Matt Taylor is looking for a strong run in the send-off run for the Dalton Blackbird. In row number 7, we have Dale Roswell, the 1989 series champion. He was supposed to have retired after last year's Indianapolis race, but he came back with a sponsor that is going to see him running here for the next 2 years. This race, and only this race. It'll be Roswell's farewell tour. Scott Faulkner is on his outside in car number 64, driving for the Renisker Laboratories team. Faulkner is having a strong run all this weekend. Row number 8, we have local boy Greg Woodard, who was born not far from the racetrack. He is one of only 3 Decatur residents to actually race here, and he has clearly been the most successful of the 3 so far. On his outside is Michael Humphreys, driving for Los Angeles Playboy Alex Harrison. Humphreys is looking to steal the Independence Trophy today. In row number 9, we have Vincenzo Focesato, the Italian, driving for the FIAM team, the only FIAM to qualify for today's race. On his outside, Luciano Savarol, going for the championship today in car number 5. Savarol boldly stated to the press that if he didn't win it, he was going to make sure that his old teammate Adrian Devereaux did not. We'll see how that plays out. In row number 10, we have Scott Stoidler, driving for the American Launch Energy Racing team. Stoidler ended a long winless drought earlier this year with a win in Argentina. On his outside is Evgeny Kuznetsov in car number 15, the second Katsev. Kuznetsov's participation today is under some controversy. Katsev Engineering bought out the entry that Dan Richards had qualified and put Kuznetsov in as the driver. Kuznetsov, however, hopes to repay the team with a very good result today. He is carrying some of Richards' sponsors. On the inside of row 11, we find Chris Davenport driving car number 84. E.B. Mara actually qualified for the race, but since Mara is also the owner of the sponsor, he requested that Chris Davenport, one of the team's regular drivers, be swapped in the car instead of himself. Mara citing Davenport's experience as the main reason why. Davenport not only hopes to represent himself and the Michelin Sons today, but also the generosity of his teammate. On his outside is Chris Johans, driving car number 12. Chris Johans came within just 1 point of winning the championship here back in 2011. He hopes for a strong result today to ease the pain of that loss. On the inside of row 12 is the first of the 3 Lynx racing cars in today's race, driven by Englishwoman Davina Henton. Henton has had a bit of a surge in the late part of this season, but has not won a race since winning the CARROLL Grand Prix last year. On her outside, in car number 18, is Packer CARROLL, driving for Manticore Engineering. CARROLL has had strong runs in big races this year. He hopes to continue this trend, coming from 24th on the grid. One of the most interesting stories of today sits on the inside of row 13. Sjoberg Racing competed in the CARROLL Grand Prix this year and brought the number 44 car here in hopes of selling the car. It was bought by a team formed around Floridian late model driver Robert PANKO. PANKO is actually one of Omeka's test drivers, so he is actually very familiar with the car. However, this will be his TM Master Cup Series debut. He has logged more than enough test mileage, however, to be eligible for a master license. On his outside is Marcus Leonard, driving for his own FPO Incorporated car, sponsored by the Dutch East India Company. Leonard hopes to close this season out with a stronger run than the 2 runs he's had already in his home race of British Columbia and Gravis City. On row number 14 is Velmir Yankovic, driving a car that was also qualified for the CARROLL Grand Prix with a different driver. On his outside is the second of the Lynx cars, Yulia Nesova, in car number 10. Nesova came painfully close to scoring wins in Argentina and at New York. She hopes to close the year out with a win today. In row number 15 is the third driver for Lynx Racing, Ingrid Hadeland from Norway, in car number 93. Hadeland is in Lynx's driver development program. On her outside is Juho Kivala in car number 38, who will be full-time in this car next year. On row 16, we have Darren Cardell driving a year-old Gessler at car 152, and on his outside is Alessandro ROSSINI, the winner this year at both CARROLL and at Surface Paradise. Row 17, we have the winner at Road America, Alexis RAINSFORD, in car number 27, and Russell Jones in car number 216, who's made sporadic appearances this season. In row 18, we have Mariano Zavala driving a non-factory Matthews Aspira, and Bob Steffens, one of the more underappreciated R&D drivers in motorsports today, driving a Tenere. He will come from 36th on the grid in car number 70. One of the most celebrated comebacks in all of motorsports is on the inside of row 19. Woody Watts has made his comeback after a terrifying crash at Daytona a few years ago. He's been in rehabilitation ever since, and it was unlikely he would ever get to drive again. However, Watts has not only qualified his way in, but did so with an underpowered car, despite some help from Hodges Walter Racing and several other teams in the paddock. While many consider it just a victory for Watts to make the field at all, he may have loftier goals in mind. On his outside is Tom Delgado, the third factory Leonard in car number 37, Delgado hoping for a strong run to end his season. All the way back in 39th place is where you'll find championship leader Adrian Devereaux in car number 7. Devereaux has led the championship for most of the season, but has seen that lead whittle away after crashes and misfortune. If he is going to win his third championship today, it will require greater heroics than in 2011 and 2012. On his outside is Morgan Le Fay, driving the second of the 2 Clockwork Racing Midnights in today's field. Car number 23 has won more races than any other car number in TM Master Cup Series history. If Joe Olenek is able to win today, he will mimic what Tyrone Stanley was able to do in 2002, win from 41st on the grid. On his outside is David Krikorian in car number 04, who won at Indianapolis earlier in the year. On row number 22, we have Ryan Matthews also going for the Independence Trophy. He'll have to do so from deep in the field in his own car number 06. Kevin Dwyer sits on his outside. Dwyer opted not to set a time in the final time trials, as did Melanie Clavino, who sits on the inside of row 23 in car number 2. Clavino marked her season with 2 wins early in the year at Carbondale and in France. However, her season fell off shortly afterwards. She is currently 5th in the championship. And starting 46th and last on the grid is Calvin Hobbs, driving car number 497, and Hobbs hopes to be doing more than just cutting the grass with his race car, which is what he did trying to qualify for this race last year, with not only his primary but his backup car. He has erased the heartbreak of last season by qualifying for today's race, and he hopes to make the most of his opportunity. There you have the starting field for today's round of Decatur. Going now to the starting grid for the first ever standing start here at the Decatur Raceway. Rachel Rainsford on the left side of the track, James HEWITT on the right. This is a very, very tense moment right now. And the lights are out, and away we go. Rachel Rainsford gets a great start off the line. HEWITT, very slow. Scott Bates gets a run. He's going to try to cover HEWITT. There he goes. Bates over to the right side. He's covering HEWITT. Raquetta makes a move. HEWITT defends. James HEWITT holding on tightly. He cuts through the grass. You see Cameron Taylor following suit. Everyone looks like they got through the snake okay. Much to my surprise. There's usually some first lap drama over there. Adrian Devereaux making a very quick start, going around Woody Watts. Some people were expecting Devereaux would be very conservative, but every time Devereaux's been put to the back of the field this season, he's always been very aggressive on the start, even in cases like this where he's running around people he hasn't run with all year and who aren't used to running around him. That could be very dangerous for Devereaux. Rachel Rainsford continues to lead. Scott Bates is second. Hewitt is holding on to third. The 31 looks like she's trying to streak away from Scott Bates and try to run away as much as she can. Cameron Taylor, big move to take third in the Leonard. Ricketta now. There is a big traffic jam building behind James Hewitt's car, but Hewitt trying to hang on and get as good of a result as he can. There were some reports of smoke from the 84 car. Chris Davenport. Oh, contact with the Silva. More contact with the 10 car. Yankovic hanging in there in that coppery orange and black car. And then there's Packard Carroll in one of the Ultor cars. Contact between the Silva and Yankovic. Going across the snake. Oh, this could be... Whoa, they saved it. Both of them held on to it. And that was almost a big accident as Mike Humphreys is around in the 0. It looks like those reports of smoke from the 84 were erroneous. Adrian Devereaux going around Alexis RAINSFORD. It's one of the, I think that's Carroll off the road in the 18 car. And contact in the back. No, actually, I think that's Kiva. That was Kiva that went around. And Melanie Clavino's in trouble in the back. Looking at Scott Stoidler here. And contact! Contact Stoidler. Big accident. That was him and Cardell. Morgan LaFay's involved. One of the Myasov cars. Kevin Dwyer. Oh no, Dwyer's out of it. And we were looking at Stoidler because we believe that it was him that was responsible for the Michael Humphreys incident. Now here is on board with the 13 car. Looks like they kind of ran out of racing room. Humphreys was all sorts of out of control. I don't think there was anything Humphreys could do. He was losing control of that car, and Stoidler gave him as much room as he could until he got to the edge of the rumble strip. Really hard to blame Scott Stoidler or Mike Humphreys in that situation. Very unfortunate for Humphreys, but thankfully he is still running. Now we're going to stay on board of this 13 car. That was a big accident going up the hill, but thankfully the corner workers here are second to none on the entire tour, and that's saying something. Yeah, that's where he gets hooked by Darren Cardell. Oh, that could have been so much worse. That could have been a much worse accident. It looks like everyone's gotten out of their cars or brought them back to the pits. Hewitt punted out of the way by Roswell. James Hewitt, one of the least experienced drivers on the tour, has gotten moved out of the way by Roswell, the most experienced driver probably ever. Hewitt now, stay down, and he collects Marcus Leonard. When I said there were some people worried about an inexperienced driver at that close to the front of the field, I think that might have been what we were afraid of. And Marcus Leonard, a lot of damage. Yep, I'm not surprised. I don't think that penalty would have been handed out if Hewitt had tried to slow his car down and didn't accelerate it in the grass. And that very unfortunate because Marcus Leonard definitely had a car that could contend to win this thing. Cameron Taylor running in third now. Now Cameron Taylor's teammate is going for the championship, and you see this ticker on the left side. You'll notice the title contenders are highlighted in red to make it easier for you. Cameron Taylor trying to hold off Arto Kakinen to help Luciano Savaral's title aspirations, but Savaral needs to help himself by getting through the field. Adrian Devereaux is up to 23rd place. Talk about a rocket start in only 3 laps. Remember, he started 39th. And you see James Hewitt's not able to make the most of his good starting position. It's all gone wrong as you saw Kakinen go by Cameron Taylor. Leonid RODERICK in the number 4 car closing. Roderick got a big run on Cameron Taylor, and Cameron Taylor lets him go. Cameron Taylor, a very gentlemanly driver. Hopefully he'll line a spot in Lenard's. There's an accident up there. That's Ashby. That's the Black Diamond cars. That's Chris Johans. Matt Taylor's in it. One of the Katsevs. I think that's Kuznetsov. Those cars a little hard to tell apart. Oh, this might have been where it started. Luciano Savaral. Oh, this could have big implications here. Black Diamond cars, none of them racing for the championship, and contact between Savaral and D'Souza. I think D'Souza may have hit the curb and gotten that car out of shape. And that's where that incident started. That's a controversial incident right there. Oh, Greg Woodard, the 41. Oh, the hometown boys out of it. Greg Woodard is, sooner or later, is going to have a breakout year in the series. But he's been snake bit here at his home racetrack. He's managed to qualify in every single one of his attempts, but just no big results. And if Woodard was able to win here, that would be one day, then that would be one of the biggest celebrations I could think of. Adrian Devereaux in car number 7 is down. He's up to 13th place. Holy, Adrian Devereaux. Now, granted, a lot of those positions he just made up were because he went through all of that debris from those earlier incidents. But Adrian Devereaux has made a great start so far. And thankfully, we've gotten reports that everyone involved in those previous 2 incidents was able to get out of their cars under their own power, and that is the most important thing. Arto Kakinen trying to get by Scott Bates in the 88 car. Now, you want to talk about a hard and fair racer? Well, we're looking at 2 of them right here, Arto Kakinen and Scott Bates. These 2 guys aren't going to give up for anything. Scott Bates, I don't think, really looks at the points chart until after the season's over. He tries to win everything, and granted, Scott Bates, you don't last as long as Scott Bates has in this series if you're not pretty good at winning things. And not only that, but that team, the EFR team, has been very solid this year. Scott Bates holding off Leonid RODERICK as Arto Kakinen goes after Rachel Rainsford. The Finn is trying to get his first ever Master Cup championship today. Going around Rachel Rainsford, or he's trying to get a run on the 31. Rachel Rainsford not really used to fighting for wins as often as Arto Kakinen. And Kakinen, this could be a very clever move around the outside. He's going to have a couple of right-hand corners. Very good setup. That's Arto Kakinen knows his way around this racetrack. I don't think he's ever won here before, but he's certainly showing the pace to do so today. Dale Roswell running in 6th place. Now, his last 2 starts of his career are going to come here, including today. So, this is Roswell's farewell tour. He will be here, of course, next year. And what a way to end a career for Roswell. He's already running. He's running in 6th place. And I think he's shown that he still may have just a tiny bit left. Yeah, that was Kuznetsov, I think, that was involved in that incident earlier, because you can see Russell Jones and the 3 car of Alessandro Rossini really ganging up on him. The very popular Russian driver. I got some help to get in this race, as we mentioned in the grid piece. A big move there by Rossini, and oh, Russell Jones! Jones takes him out. Oh, that's Woody Watts, and Rainsford in it. Alexis Rainsford. Oh, Hobbs in it. That is the 38 car that was Keebler, so the All-Tour car that was involved in the Lap 1 drama, Lap 2 drama, excuse me, was Packer Carroll. Now those cars look exactly the same, and that was a bit of an uncalled for move, I think, by Jones. But I don't see any no penalties coming out for Jones quite yet, but I think the steward's going to want another look at that one, because that looked a little questionable to me, especially right over there in the hotel, because that was a bit unnecessary. Rachel Rainsford makes a move to get the lead back. Now, there might be a championship battle going on that Rachel Rainsford's teammate Leonid RODERICK is involved in, but Rachel's never won a Master Cup race, and I think she's going to want to do it now, because we don't know about her status as Volpe test driver going long-term. Kakinen holding off RODERICK, but he's going to have to do something about the 31 of Rachel Rainsford.
Lurch, they're backing up the 2 car to jam up the leaders. Be careful, you know what that means. We already talked to race control about it, and we're watching it.
That's Gary Hall, Luciano Salvarel's crew chief. You may have heard him over the course of the season on Salvarel's radio. He is referring to Melanie Clavino, who is still on track, but is running who has been running very slow lap times, and the leaders are going to encounter the 2 car fairly quickly. She's up ahead. You may have just seen her in that shot. I believe also with Morgan Le Fay in the 49 as RODERICK goes for 2nd in the car number 4. Orange, and the traditionally orange number 4 car, a color that has been associated with Leonid RODERICK's entire career. Mark's probably the only more iconic color and number combination would be Joseph Howard's yellow 17 car that he had throughout most of his career, although RODERICK has had a orange car for every year but his rookie campaign, where he had that. And here is Scott Falconer in car number 64. That is, he's up to 9th place. He normally only runs the Canadian races, but He's got the Rennisker Laboratories car into the field, and he's running very, very well. I think we're going to be seeing more of Falconer in the future. He's one of the younger guys on the tour, and it's good to see him having such a good run today. Here is Kurt Plisken in car number 16. Yes, it was Morgan Le Fay that was being encountered by the leaders along with Melanie Clavino. There you see the 16 car. That is a one-race sponsor for Plisken. He's had quite a few of them. He's one of the most colorful personalities in the garage. And Savarol also now, as they're going to encounter Clavino soon. We'll see if Hall's superstition or conspiracy theories, whatever you want to call them, play out, as the leaders didn't have any problems getting by Melanie Clavino, I'd like to point out. Roderick and Kakinen doing battle for second place, but Roderick's teammate's the leader, and you wonder, is Volpe going to move Rachel Rainsford out of the lead to give it to Leonid Roderick? They're doing it. If that's the plan, they're not doing it right now. Here is Savarol. Now, Plisken has the same engines that Luciano Savarol does. Oh, Clavino shuts the door on Savarol, and I think we know what Hall was talking about now, because Clavino is getting in the way, and she is defending that line a little bit more than I think a lap car is normally allowed to. Holding up the 5, costing him so much time. Look at this run that Falconer's having. Savarol's off the course. Luciano's off the course because he was being held up by Melanie Clavino, and Scott Falconer takes 8th. That could be big in the championship. Adrian Devereaux's in the background. I think I just lost track of where Adrian Devereaux was, because he has been making up a lot of ground. That number 7, Killer Shark, as it's been called throughout the season, is I believe he's running in he's running in 11th right now, because that is Riquetta in 10th. As Clavino finally gets out of the way, but look at how much time she's cost Luciano Savarol. Championship implications. Phrase you'll probably hear quite often. As Rachel Rainsford swings it a bit wide, I don't know if that's on purpose or not. Either way, if you're going to let anyone by easy, it better be your teammate. So Rachel Rainsford cedes the position to Leonid Roderick, although that could just be that Rachel didn't want to race Roderick as hard as possible, because she's just being courteous. May not be any team orders going on there at all. Rachel Rainsford is actually known for being one of the more courteous drivers out there, in particularly when she doesn't like to hold up faster cars, as Adrian Devereaux. There you see some teamwork. Melanie Clavino, well, moves out of the way for Adrian Devereaux much earlier than she did for Luciano Savarol. Anyways, being a bit cynicism aside, Adrian Devereaux had a bit of a hard time getting by Carlos Riquetta in the 14 car, and Riquetta and Devereaux both have the same engines in those cars, so if there are any team orders going on, it might only be within that team, or just the figment of some people's imaginations. Scott Falconer in the 64 car now being challenged by Luciano Savarol. Falconer defending. Whoa! Falconer very aggressively defending 8th. Now Scott Falconer, one thing that some people have noted about him is his uncanny resemblance to the late Scott Hamilton, and that some people have found a bit odd, but those things have happened before. Of course, Joseph Howard's former Master Cup champion son, Austin Howard, has been reported to be looks almost exactly like him. Like father, like son. Of course, Austin Howard, a crew chief, as you saw Yulia Nasova doing some battling in the midfield. Adrian Devereaux in car number 7 now trying to get by Carlos Riquetta in the 14. Both of these cars are really running down Falconer in the 64. And Adrian Devereaux going by the 14. Riquetta letting him in. This is not really a place you...
Hey, race control, how about a red flag to clean up debris, because the hill is a fucking minefield.
I was wondering about that also. Chris Davenport complaining about the conditions going up the hill, and you may have seen why you don't want to hold somebody up going in turn 3, because Riquetta did drive off the track as a result of trying to hold on to that position as long as he could. Dale Roswell and Kurt Plisken are doing battle for 6th place. Roswell not really in heavy traffic, of course. He's been doing mostly testing here, and is the most senior driver in this field by a fair margin. Oh, Matt Taylor in the Blackbird. That's going to be a bit hard to get by because Matt Taylor... Now, this might not be Matt Taylor's fault that the Blackbird is so slow because, of course, he was involved in an accident, but that car wasn't handling well even when there wasn't any damage on it. Anyways, Dale Roswell is going to be a pretty tough guy for Plisken to get by because he's been doing a lot of testing here. Roswell knows his way around this track probably more than Plisken does. We'll see if the Midnight can actually outperform the Lycoya. Plisken, good move. Great move for Plisken. Clever setting up Roswell. Roswell going to take him deep. No, Plisken's not able to do it. Wow, Roswell really putting on a show here in what's undoubtedly the twilight of his career. But here is Rachel Rainsford now holding up Arto Kekkonen. I don't think there's any malicious intent here. I think this is just clean, hard racing here. And Kekkonen trying to get a run on the 31. Rachel swings it a bit off the track. She gives him room. Arto Kekkonen's going to go on by. Camera angle a bit deceiving. I don't think there was contact there. As Arto Kekkonen moves up into second place. Looking back at Robert Panko, the Floridian late model driver who was given this this car that was originally entered by Schoberg. Team formed around him. He's running in 16th place, so I'd say that investment's paid off already, although you could argue it was paid off by him making the race. So he's also been a test driver at several different tracks, especially tracks that Master Cup Series cars might be racing at in the prospective future. Panko holding on to 16th from Velmir Yankovic and one of the Lynx cars, that is Hadeland. On board with Alessandro Rossini going up the hill. As you can see how much of an steep incline this actually is. Panko's a bit wide up there. Oh, there's contact! Panko and Yankovic. Yankovic is over the wall! Yankovic flipped over the wall! In the 320 car, Panko is sitting by the side of the road. He's off the course, but that was a big accident. That was a massive accident, but since Yankovic is over the wall, cleanly I would add, I don't think there's any reason to suspend the race, but yes, Yankovic, we're being told, is out of the car, as is Panko, who bailed from that car before the crane could even get there, it looks like. Oh boy. We're only 11 laps in. Leonid RODERICK in the 4 car hits the pit lane. Arto Kekkonen stays out. Fuel strategy and tire strategy coming into effect as Adrian Devereaux held up by Raquetta. So that's going to cost it. That's going to mean that Adrian Devereaux is not able to pick up that position in the pit lane. Good work by the Katsev crew. Tom Delgado in the 37 car is running long on fuel. And so is David Krikorian. Both these guys started a bit further back, but they do have fast race cars. On board with Roderick. As, there's Arto Kekkonen merging from the pit line. Kekkonen is going to take the lead in this round of pit stops. And I think Tom Delgado and David Krikorian are also going to vault up the running order as a result of their pit strategies. Roderick trying to chase down Kekkonen. Look at the gap between Kekkonen and Roderick, and then the third place car, Rachel Rainsford. It is just monstrous. A lot of that just shows you how much these races can be won and lost in the pit lane alone. And here is Adrian Devereaux now. He's doing battle with Tom Delgado. He's gotten around Raquetta, it looks like. Taking Delgado deep into the snake. But the American Devil's going to fight for that one for all he's worth. Oh! Devereaux almost takes a swipe at Delgado, but he might have just gotten the rear end a bit sideways on the curbs. I think that's more than likely the case. Trying to scare Tom Delgado is very hard to do. Devereaux squeezing him as much as he can, almost runs it wide, and the American Devil holds on to the position. That's good racing right there. I don't think Tom Delgado understands what team orders are. Even if you told him, I don't think he would listen. That's from what I've known of Tom Delgado. That's just how he acts. That was for 10th position. The way they run, Arto Kekkonen would be the champion. As you see, Steffens is having a good run up to 21st that we haven't talked about. Joe Olenek has recovered to 22nd. Ryan Matthews, we believe, has been off the road a couple of times, but without any serious damage to the 06 car to keep tabs on the Independence Trophy progress. And Mike Humphreys, as you saw, is still running, but not really with anyone. And Roderick trying to chase down Kekkonen. Right now, they're running about the same lap times. As now Roderick closing in with a big draft down Farmer's straightaway. Is he going to have enough? No. Not able to do it this time. He's gonna have to get a lot closer to Kekkonen. He's gonna scare him like that. I think Arto Kekkonen's learned, at least from past couple seasons, where he has had a bit of sketchy performances here at the Decatur Raceway, especially in 2012 when he was in contention for the championship again, but he had a couple of offs, and that's likely what cost him in the long run, as Roderick really turning the heat up on his former teammate. There he goes, big move. Kekkonen and Roderick giving each other plenty of space. That is hard, clean racing, because Roderick knew that Kekkonen needed the space to come back onto the track, and he gave it to him, as we've seen some other people just not give each other that space and cause unnecessary crashes over there. As you see, going through turn 3, Roderick clears. Not quite. Now he clears them. That's a bit of a sketchy corner, but that's where the line of the going up those S's goes. And it did kind of look like he shoved him out wide, but that's where the racing line is. Hopefully we get another look at it here as Adrian Devereaux clears Tom Delgado, as that's going to be for 10th place. They're running down Scott Falconer in the 64, who is really slow going up the S's. Falconer all sorts of out of shape.
All you need to do is be on the podium. It doesn't matter where. Just keep that in mind.
That's Alan Hodges over the team radio to Adrian Devereaux, giving him a reminder, a good reminder that he needs to be on the podium to lock it up regardless of what anyone else does. The only problem is that Arto Kekkonen would be champion right now, and Devereaux will need to definitely get himself, will probably need to get himself onto the podium for that to actually happen, for him to hold on. Oh, that's a big accident! That's Roswell! In the 20 car! Devereaux's got to run up Plisken in the 16. Is he going to be able to get it? I think so, but Plisken got into the... No, not quite. Plisken and Roswell were being told something broke on the 20 car. Roswell went into the wall. Oh, and that Roswell is out of the car. That's good to hear, but that was a hard stopper, given Roswell's age. But then again, he's also one of the toughest drivers we've ever seen. As Devereaux and Plisken doing battle here, Plisken bouncing off the curb. That's going to hurt his momentum a little bit, as we got a drag race down into the snake between the Lycoya and the Colton Morel Altair. Plisken, I think, is going to hold on to this, and he does. Chris Davenport running in 17th. I guess E.B. Mera had the right idea when he decided to put Davenport in his own car, the car that he sponsored and the car that he qualified. So Davenport representing Mera pretty well, and looks like E.B. Mera made a pretty good decision. Nothing against E.B. Mera's own driving ability. It was a decision by Mera himself, who owns the sponsor. So that is a bit of an odd circumstance, but he's holding off Alessandro ROSSINI, and that's no small feat. The Carrollo winner this year. Adrian Devereaux trying to get by Plisken again. Now Kurt Plisken, Kurt Plisken not giving Devereaux a whole lot of room, moving over on him just a tiny bit. Plisken and Devereaux, this is where the racing line widens and narrows a bit. Plisken has to cede that one, otherwise that would probably have been a crash. We're showing up where the leaders are closing in on the Gessler of Alexis RAINSFORD. This 27 car will be driven by Brian Sendak the next couple of years, we believe, which means that this could be Alexis RAINSFORD's last Master Cup start, at least for the time being. And that would be a bit of a tragedy, but Roderick and Kekkonen going around the 27. She gives them both room. She could have held up Roderick a lot more than she did, and she would have had a reason to, because Kekkonen is a title contender, as holds up her half-sister, but that doesn't look like that was on purpose. But RAINSFORD being there or not, I don't think it matters if that was intentional or not, because Kekkonen's got to run because of it, and he's going to take the lead back from Roderick, and Arto Kekkonen going to try to get the lead back. Roderick fighting him hard, but we got a couple of right-handers coming up here if Kekkonen keeps his momentum up. No, not quite. Oh, maybe he is. Keeps his momentum up from the top of the hill, going down to Arto Kekkonen. That was a pass that started in turn 3, keep in mind. Now these two, Arto Kekkonen has had side-by-side battles at Road America that have lasted almost an entire lap. So you want to talk about someone who is patient with making an overtake. Arto Kekkonen has turned the type of patience into an art form, seemingly. And he is now taking the lead of the race. And both of these drivers, one thing they both want to really do is get the lap leader bonus, because that might be the deciding factor in who ends up walking away with the Master Cup Drivers' Championship. Kakinen and Roderick, 1 and 2. Rachel Rainsford still third, not too much of a change in the running order there. Let's see if we can find anything further back in the field. Here's Packer Carroll running at 26th place. And oh, there goes the 2-car. Clavino off the road. We were told that there was something, I had gotten word there was something going on between Packer Carroll and Clavino. And that apparently, that's the end of that. Melanie Clavino holding up Scott Bates and Luciano Savarol. And, yeah, Cameron Taylor has been running comfortably in 4th this whole time, just ahead of this battle. Bates and Savarol were closing in on the 6-car up until it looks like just a couple of moments ago. Wonder why. Melanie Clavino being quite a nuisance today for certain cars more than others, it seems. Savarol going by Clavino on the outside, and that's that. 6-car, Cameron Taylor into the pits a bit early. Scott Bates in as well. Let's see if that pays off. Rachel Rainsford now has caught the 2 leaders. And remember I mentioned earlier that Rachel Rainsford might not be interested in the championship at all. She just wants a race win. Roderick moves out of the way. He's letting her go. I wonder if that's the case here and that Rachel is just trying to save her tires to make big runs on the leaders. Clearly that's what it appears to be, but we'll have to see if that plays out. If Rachel makes a run at the 9-car or if Roderick is actually on an in-lap. And we're about to find out. No, looks like Rachel is on an in-lap. Huh. Interesting way to play that strategy, but alright. Kakinen now going around the 49 of Morgan Le Fay. And Le Fay, of course, has had damage all race long. Been trying to get her revenge for been a pretty dismal few outings, to be honest, for Morgan Le Fay. Oh, she got a pole at Brands Hatch, but that was about it. That's the only real bright spot to her season in her limited outings. As Roderick hit the pit lane in the 4-car, Kakinen's still on the track. He's got a couple lap cars, Ian Cooper, Packer Carroll up ahead. Those guys are racing for... Whoa! Those guys are racing for position. I'd be a bit careful around them as Kakinen gives a 73 car about as much room as he possibly... about as little room as he possibly can. Makes a good move on Carroll entering the pits. That's cleverness, but I think Carroll may have been giving him room. That's still what you got to do if you're really dedicated to winning championships, is make moves like that entering the pit lane. Tom Delgado, David Krikorian. Again, they've been running long, and it's been paying off for both of them. Kakinen, after that round of pit stops, still holds the lead of the race, with 24 of the 42 laps in the books. Roderick further back in 2nd place. And he's stuck behind, it's a little hard to tell who that is. Back there might be Packer Carroll. Ryan Matthews has gotten himself into the points in the 06 car. He's running in 20th. Solid day for the Aspira, and Ryan Matthews himself has built up quite a team around this Matthews Aspira and the Matthews company in general. He's got a massive development team in the lower tiers. I would not be surprised if they made a legitimate run at the full time in the near future. And there's Mike Humphreys in the 0 car, driving for Alex Harrison, who's running in 26th. Now here is the running order again on the left. Adrian Devereaux's got himself into the top 5. Pit strategy working in his favor. He was able to get around Cameron Taylor. Tom Delgado, David Krikorian still making a big impact. Scott Bates in the 88, slow stop. And that is going to cost him, it looks like. Slow stop for Cameron Taylor in the 6 as well. That was a bit surprising. Marcus Leonard, you may have noticed, is still on the lead lap despite all that damage he's got. I think that just shows what kind of pace Leonard had all throughout the weekend. Is David Krikorian now doing battle with Davina Henton. This is for 13th. These are 2 drivers that probably wish they had a bit more of the spotlight than they did. David Krikorian, of course, won Indianapolis. Didn't run that many other races, but did pretty well in all of them. And he's doing pretty well here, too, especially given how far back in the grid he started. And Davina Henton, of course, had a near miss in Brazil from winning a race, but Lynx Racing just a bit shy on highlights for this year, especially in the first half of the season, as Bob Steffens in the 70 car and Vincenzo Fogisato in the FIAM in front of him have actually been putting on one of the better battles that we haven't really been able to show you because there's been so much happening elsewhere. Fogisato in the 175 Little hard to read the number on this car. One of these cars. Now, one of the cars on that VM team was made every special event, and you saw a good move by Bob Steffens in the Tenaire. Both these guys a bit underrated. Now, and in fact, Tenaire in general, I think, is a bit of an underrated company as far as their level of dedication is concerned. They've got an engine program that they put in a TM Lights car. That's been pretty competitive all year. Wouldn't be surprised if they had a run at least an Independence Trophy campaign in the next couple of years. And FIAM as well, where it'll be a bit of a surprise to see them, if we don't see them on the grid in a more permanent position. Davenport holding off Jones. Davenport, I think, is going to cede this position to Jones. I don't think he wants anything to do with the Australian anymore. Oh, that might be why. Morgan Le Fay up ahead. I think he wanted to just let Jones go, and hopefully that Jones burns his tires off. Although Davenport that wouldn't be like Chris Davenport to do that. Davenport's usually been the type to burn his tires off no matter what, and make. Anyways, here is Packer Carroll, Luciano Savarol, and Adrian Devereaux. Carroll getting in the way of the battle for 4th place, but I don't think Carroll really cared. Oh, actually, I have a feeling that Carroll wouldn't have seen them even otherwise. Oh, Adrian Devereaux not happy with them. Packer Carroll, I don't think Packer Carroll even saw them, given how much that the left rear of that car was jacked up in the air from all the damage he's gotten. As we have Ingrid Hadeland in the 93 taking it to Davina Henton. What a move for Ingrid. Goes right, but she's going to go get David Krikorian as well. Ingrid having a run at it in the 93 car, while Henton and DK were burning their tires off. Looked like Hadeland had saved hers up for a good run there. Now she's been in Lynx's pipeline for quite some time. They brought her up into the TM Light Series. She did fairly well. She's going to be in the TM Light Series for at least the next 2 years. And Ingrid Hadeland is definitely a name to keep your eyes on in the future, because Lynx is very high on her. Thinks she's gotten a lot of talent, and she's showing it today. Adrian Devereaux trying to run at Luciano Savarol to take 4th. As they run, Arto Kekkonen would be the champion. Adrian Devereaux having a run at Savarol. Is he going to get it? Yes, he does. Adrian Devereaux up to 4th. Savarol going to try to make a comeback on him. Try to get that position back. Is he able to do so? Not quite yet. But now this is going to be a straight battle between Devereaux and Savarol. Looks like for the rest of the race, unless one of them's able to break away from the other. I don't quite see that happening, because Savarol, remember, said if he couldn't win the championship, he wanted to make sure Devereaux didn't either. And there's definitely some tension there from when those two were hot as Walter teammates. Savarol, as you see, Plisken, who was pitted early in the 16 car. Power Sing Incorporated throwing the dice, as is Volpe with Rachel Rainsford. She's in early. And Tom Delgado. Wow, that's a reversal of pit strategy there. Tom Delgado looks like he wants to end this race on low fuel. As low fuel as possible. Cameron Taylor, Scott Bates in. DK running along in the 04 again. Wow, this is going to really jump up the running order. Arto Kekkonen in fairly late. Roderick in on the same lap. So, I don't know if Roderick thinks he can catch the 9. Look at Savarol with another. We've seen another pit lane overtake on pit entry. Clever move by the Brazilian, and he squeezes Devereaux out wide, because Devereaux's pit stall was before Luciano's. Sneaky. Might be a bit underhanded tactics from the Brazilian, but those are legal by Master Cup regulations, by sporting regulations, as Kekkonen is going to hold the lead. Here's Melanie Clavino again. And Luciano Savarol. There you see the running order. Savarol, big advantage over Devereaux. Whoa, Clavino running him wide. She is a couple laps down. And we're getting into the uncalled for territory here at this point, because this has happened more than once to the car number 5. She's not giving him any room out there. Melanie Clavino all over the racetrack, and I'm not surprised that she hasn't been punted off the track yet by Luciano Savarol. But this is fantastic teamwork, because I don't know how much time she cost Luciano Savarol, but he had a big lead on Adrian Devereaux, and if that's not at least whittled down significantly, I won't be surprised. And let's see what...
I said be careful behind the 2 car. They're going to make moves like that.
Just when I was wondering what the pit wall was thinking of that. Gary Hall reminding Soverall to be careful of Clavino. And what do you know? Letting your teammate go by without a problem at all. Gotta love teamwork sometimes, I guess. Adrian Devereaux going down to hunt Luciano Soverall to get 4th place, which if Arto Kekkonen is, it'll be very close for the championship. Regardless, it's going to be very, very close. As Kekkonen in lap traffic. Oh, there's HEWITT sliding it wide. They are battling for position, so Kekkonen can't really have a blue flag be thrown at them for his advantage. But Morgan Le Fay is letting off the gas and letting the 9 go. And sportsmanlike by Morgan Le Fay. HEWITT wanted the place pretty badly. I think HEWITT's going to have to cede it though, fairly shortly. It wouldn't be. Yep, HEWITT's probably going to give it up right here. Roderick on former teammate Matt Taylor. Not the best place to make an overtake. Oh, Roderick a bit sideways off the curb, I think. Matt Taylor, of course, who won his first and only Master Cup championship here in 2004. His career has been up and down since, but it's been an injury at Talladega a few years ago has kind of hampered him. And he has been running, though, in road racing to quite a bit of success. Matt Taylor, of course, from the Pacific Northwest, been mostly running up there. Luciano Soverall gotten around Morgan Le Fay without a problem. Adrian Devereaux, though, is beginning to look a bit large in his mirrors. This is going to be interesting. Soverall, of course, who is, some people believe, he's still upset that Adrian Devereaux threw dust in his face while trying to win the championship in 2012. And I would like to point out Devereaux was successful in holding Luciano Soverall off to take the championship that season. Tiebreakers on the lap leader bonus, actually, is how that played itself out. As Adrian Devereaux is able to get around Michael Humphreys, and we've got they're going to be taking the white flag this time by, and Luciano Soverall is trying to chase down Rachel Rainsford while trying to hold off Adrian Devereaux in the 7 car. This is going to get mighty interesting here. And now, if Adrian Devereaux is able to pass him, we don't know if that'll be enough to win him the championship. Here we go, Soverall across the line, he's taking the white flag. 1 lap to go on this Master Cup season. This season, which has been one of the longest on record. Soverall going on through the snake. Devereaux's got a big run through the snake. Great exit from the Frenchman. As you see, Rachel Rainsford is going to encounter a lap car. Matt Taylor, he's no factor whatsoever. Luciano Soverall, does he have enough left in the car and in the tires to keep Adrian Devereaux behind him? He slides it wide. He's on the grass. He loses almost on the grass, loses momentum. Adrian Devereaux's got a run on him going up the hill. And is it going to be enough to make a move? Adrian Devereaux peeks out late. Soverall all sorts of sideways. Onto the curb. No momentum from Luciano. Adrian Devereaux is going to make a move around him on the outside. Is it going to work? Squeezing Luciano in. Soverall tries to push him wide. Devereaux diamonds the hill to get more momentum going downhill. And it's going to work. Adrian Devereaux has taken 4th place with a great move there. Meanwhile, Arto Kekkonen unchallenged at the front. The Finn is going to win at the Decatur Raceway, doing everything he can to take the Master Cup Championship. In the final race of the season, Kekkonen wins at Decatur with Leonid RODERICK in 2nd place across the line. But wait, Adrian Devereaux, where is he going to cross the line? He's behind Matt Taylor. Looks like he's going to cross the line. Rachel Rainsford is going to take 3rd. Adrian Devereaux is going to take 4th. Is that enough to win him the championship? Yes! Yes it is! Just barely! 5 points is the swing for Adrian Devereaux to take his 3rd Master Cup in thrilling fashion with a last lap move on the man who wanted to deny him the most. Devereaux sticks it to his rivals with a clutch move for the ages. Devereaux's last lap heroics to win the championship do not overshadow the brilliant performances by Arto Kekkonen, Leonid RODERICK, and Luciano Soverall, not just in today's race, but throughout the entire Master Cup campaign. They all put on very strong performances, with Kekkonen leading all but 12 laps today. RODERICK came home in 2nd and performed very well. Rachel Rainsford in 3rd in car 31. Very good job by Rachel Rainsford. Cameron Taylor will probably be back in the Leonard organization, at least in their development ladder somewhere in the next year or so. Scott Bates had a strong performance to end the season. Kurt Plisken and Tom Delgado also strong runs, and Yulia Nasova, a sort of unheralded run through the field. She came from 28th to finish 10th. I should also point out Tom Delgado came from 38th on the grid to be 9th, and great run by him as well. Scott Falconer and Carlos Riquetta, solid runs for them. Davina Henton, David Krikorian came from way in the back to be 14th. Rossini had a bit of a rough day. Ingrid Hadeland and Bob Steffens both fought through the field in unheralded runs. Ditto with Vincenzo Focissato. The Steffens-Focissato battle was also one of the best we've seen all season, even though there was a championship battle that we needed to keep more attention on. Russell Jones and Ryan Matthews completed the top 20 in very solid runs for both of them. Still some questions over whether or not Russell Jones should have been given a penalty, but it stands. Chris Davenport and Joe Olenek were not far behind them, and Marcus Leonard, the last car on the lead lap, was 23rd. The Decatur Raceway is one of those racetracks where if you're able to complete all the laps, that should be a pat on the back to you. And today was clearly one of those occasions. There were several cars that were still running with damage because the prize money here is quite substantial. One final look at the Drivers' Championship. 28 points separated first and fourth. Talk about a tightly run season, but then you go from first to fifth, and that's 159 points. So you want to say that the four horsemen of the apocalypse seemingly dominated the season. You wouldn't entirely be wrong. However, they all put on a thrilling show for us on the racetrack. Everyone in the top 8 in the championship scored multiple wins across the season. That should show you how competitive this series really is. And not only that, but Ashby and Kevin Dwyer both scored victories this season as well. Davina Henton and Kurt Plisken, although winless, put on very strong seasons. Plisken had a high number of DNFs, but also was in the top 20 more often than not. And Davina Henton, her season was very up and down, but she was able to keep it on track more often than not. Still held a very strong 11th place in the championship. Carlos Riquetta, of course, scored his first win earlier this year. Yulia Nasova came painfully close to scoring a win. Cooper and Stoidler both broke winless streaks. Kuznetsov is still awaiting his first win, but 17th in the championship, I think, was a little better than what was expected from the Katsevs at the start of this year. Axel Andersson, despite a very weak late half of the season, still put on a great campaign. David Krikorian only made 6 starts, but look at but talk about making the most of them. DK, in half of those starts, he was in the top 10. Great season by DK. And Greg Woodard, he was able to get as much as he could out of that car, and he did very well for a sophomore season. I think we're only waiting for him to make a breakout finally. Speaking of something that was making a breakout, that would be the Independence Trophy, which was more competitive than ever. And Ryan Matthews' 20th place finish and Mike Humphreys' 26th place finish were not enough to take the Independence Trophy away from Ike Durbin and Terra International Motorsports. But the Independence Trophy was the most competitive it's ever been since it was established a few years ago. So this brings an end to one of the longest seasons in recent TM Master Cup Series history. I thank all of the viewers for staying with us. I thank everyone that made this series possible, and I will see you all next time.